What is a story without characters? An empty room with nothing happening. What's a story with too many characters? An absolute shambles. Writing character bios is a great way to make sense of how many key characters you have and will help you structure your script when the time comes to write it. Whether you're writing an Avengers Endgame level ensemble or a short film about a plant pot on a biddy's windowsill, this is the lesson for you. Welcome back to Tongue in Cheek. This is the second lesson of an 8-part series teaching you how to demuddle your storytelling brain so that you can make a beautiful document that you can use to pitch your story to yourself and hopefully paying producers. While this is a predominantly screenwriting activity, you can use these skills to pitch literally any medium to anyone. But it's about more than just pitching. Let's say you haven't even got a script yet. You've got an idea floating in your brain, dying to get out. The story Bible I'm going to help you write will help you turn that ethereal beauty into something concrete. If you want to know more about what a story Bible is, you can read my initial article linked below. Once we get to the end of the lesson, I'll be guiding you through how to practically apply it to your own Bible while I make one as an example. So, if you are looking to make a Bible and this is your first episode, I'd suggest going back and watching episode 1 so that you're up to speed when we get to it. Last lesson we covered the basics, the initial page or pages of any Bible. This episode we'll be moving on to what most Bibles cover next, which is character. The character bios in your Bible should absolutely sing with, well, character. These are the vessels through which we'll see your reality unfold. Don't worry if you don't have a template to follow, and also don't worry if you do have a template to follow and you're worried it'll make you a bit boring. This lesson will teach the novice and the pro to make character bios that are truly engaging. So how many bios should we include? It can be easy to get carried away with writing character biographies. If you're late on in your development, you've probably got a billion character profiles, each more valuable than the last. Valuable to you. The thing about a Bible is, unlike the Christian Bible, you don't want people to be reading and rereading this for the next 2,000 years. You want them and you to get a flavour before diving into the script for the main course. Now, with that in mind, I'd suggest keeping your Bible bios to the top 5 characters at most. That way, each one can breathe and the reader will feel like they're really getting under the skin of someone or something they'll be spending a lot of time with. That doesn't mean you need to make them all likeable. If you want a character to have a punchable face, make their bio punchable. If you don't know which of your characters are most important, then it's likely you're struggling with something deeper that this series isn't geared to help you fix. For a Bible, you should include protagonist, antagonist, primary antagonist or antagonists, and 2 or 3 archetypal characters. The mentor, the trickster, that kind of thing. If you want to get to know more about character archetypes, check out The Writer's Journey by Christopher Vogler. Actually, if you're watching this and you haven't read The Writer's Journey by Christopher Vogler, what are you doing? You need to leave, read it, and come back afterwards. I mean, I'm good, but he's a genius. How long should your bios be? Annoyingly, there isn't a set length for character profiles in a series Bible. Obviously, you want to keep them short, but it very much depends on the nature of your story. If you're writing a play about 4 people in a room, your character profile should contain reams and reams of information that a reader is going to lap up. If you're writing an action movie about a bold man that looks after bees and kills people, your profiles are going to be a little thinner. As a general rule, I'd say keep each profile to under a third of a page, especially if you've got more characters to cover. It may be the case that your protagonist or any other character is linked to some deep world-building lore. Leave that out here, but allude to the fact that the reader can learn more later on where relevant. So what goes into a character bio? Again, there's no clear set of rules as to what goes into a character bio, but there are a few things you should obviously include. Name, front and center. If you're doing character profiles and you're not including names, what are you even doing? Physical characteristics. Like I say, this course is mostly geared towards screenwriters, so physical characteristics are a great way to allude to the characters in our life. A brute with immaculate nails, for example, is evocative but unusual to a specific personality. The fatal flaw. They are characters, after all. To justify their own existence, they must have a fatal flaw, a lie about themselves that they believe to be true, unless you're writing for Paddington Bear. It's this lie that will give your character their journey, as they go from a place of ignorance, willful or genuine belief, to a place of enlightenment. Internal or external conflict. Linked somewhat to the fatal flaw, your characters are likely in conflict with either themselves or others. If they're not, what are you doing? Bin them off, you saved yourself a headache while writing and page space in your Bible. Goal. What does your character want? To destroy the world? To save the prince? A Mars bar? Key relationships. If drama is conflict, then two characters are probably needed to make that happen. Yes, one of those characters can be a ball with a bloody handprint on, but always two there are. And then whatever the fuck you need. Not whatever you want. The bottom line is I don't know your story. These profiles aren't like the ones you'd normally make in the initial stages of development, where you need to figure out their deep childhood trauma and their favourite colour. These profiles are a showcase of the most important elements a reader or any other audience member will need to understand who we're watching and why we should care. That could be communicated through a classic character profile resembling a question and answer sheet, but it could also be a comic, police interview, or anything else that you can think of. Examples. I mean, that last bit probably filled you with dread, but don't worry. I got you. Let's take a look through some industry-leading Bibles, see what they've done, and let them inspire you. I love the Adventure Time Bible. I mean, look at that face. Finn, the human boy. Remember when I said to keep profiles to a third of a page? Well, straight out the gate, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages just dedicated to their protagonist. And that's because Pendleton Ward uses the medium and art style to inform how he presents the information. Sure, he could just write about Finn the human and his desire for heroism and adventure, but seeing that alongside it elevates the whole document. You've got to remember that Adventure Time essentially created a whole new animation style that cartoons adopted for the better part of a decade after this, and this is where it started. If Finn and Jake had been introduced with words alone, producers would likely have conjured more of a Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends style of animation, and the whole project could have turned out completely different, or worse, collapsed. Okay. Next up, we have New Girl, so we'll just skip past the introduction and we'll go straight to the character bios. You've seen the visual? Now let me ease you back into the reading. New Girl's Bible breaks up the character profiles by simply bullet point listing each character's most important attributes. Each character comes with a name, a nickname, and about a page of bullet points, each using the linguistic style the show intends to use. Jess's first bullet point of "she's Lucille Ball trying to be Carrie Bradshaw" is not a line you'd expect to read in most character bios. But if you're pitching a sitcom, go for it. This is what I mean when I say that your biographies will change depending on your story. This style exclusively suits this story, but it won't suit yours. If it does, then I've got some bad news. Someone's already made your idea, and it's not called Chicks and Dicks. And then finally we've got Battlestar Galactica. Right, before you get excited looking at the length of this Bible, just take a look at the contents. Just know that Ronald D. Moore, who wrote it, already had a track record working on Star Trek Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. When people read this Bible, they were reading the work of someone with a proven track record in this field. Don't assume you'll get the same level of engagement. That said, it's absolutely worth having a look at how this industry legend created a modern science fiction behemoth. Due to the nature of the show, character biographies actually come after some pretty heavy lore and world building. Commander William Adama's biography spans 2 full pages of text, with President Laura's covering closer to 2.5. As a high concept science fiction, lore and adherence to it is paramount. So it makes sense that the character biographies would be this long, or longer. But again, don't think this is something you can get away with early on in your career. To be honest, if you're able to get something this high budget commissioned early in your career, please tell me how, you absolute wizard. Okay, we've seen pictures, light words, and heavy words. Now it's time for you to use your words. If you're terrified that you don't know what you're doing after seeing those examples, don't worry, I am too. And just like you, I'm going to try and use what we've seen to make my own character biographies for the Bible I'm building for a series of Doctor Who. If you want to pause here, make yourself a cup of tea, grab a pen and paper, then do that. When I finish this sentence, we'll be working together to create character profiles for the project we picked last lesson. Again, if you're jumping in with this episode, go back and watch the first one, then rejoin here when you're ready to go. So, loading up what we've got so far, we've got our title, Doctor Who for me, again, our medium, our genre, and our logline. So now we move on to character bios. One thing that's going to make it easier right now is we're not going to be worried about the visuals, so don't worry about making something Adventure Time beautiful yet. We're just focusing on the words during this stage of the project. First things first, if I'm writing for Doctor Who, then of course the first character I am going to need is the Doctor. Or in this case, a character called Dr. John Smith. Now, Dr. John Smith looks like a young man. He moves like a young man. But he's far too young to have qualified as a GP. But he talks like a wise and jaded old coot, like most of the residents of his small Gloucestershire home. Since he moved to the town, no bones have creaked, backs have ached, or rashes spread. Best of all, everyone seems to be able to call through to book an appointment at 8 a.m, regardless of the volume of calls. There are mysteries around this doctor, however. Nobody knows where he moved from, or where in town he lives now. And sometimes he'll disappear for days or weeks at a time. Sometimes locals will catch him looking at the sky, almost as if he's lost something up there. But as soon as it's noticed, he comes back to Earth with a smile, light flirtation, and off he goes. He's a quiet man, on the whole. He keeps to himself, working or tinkering as he's wont to do. But he's not curmudgeonly. In fact, he's quite delightful. Despite the delight he brings to the town, it's not one he shares. Behind his smile is a deep hurt, a pain that won't go away no matter how many skittles he knocks down at the church fete. He longs for home, but he won't say where that is. So as you can probably tell, this is going to wind up being the Doctor, but I've been deliberately vague. I'm not going to bother writing that he's a Time Lord, that he's all these different, amazing, wonderful things. It's not relevant to who he is in this series. If it becomes relevant, I will of course change that, but for now, I think this is good. Okay, next up, we have Sharon Gray. Now, Sharon can take a beating. As a social worker of 20 years, she couldn't have survived without developing a thick skin. As that skin developed, though, she lost the empathy that made her want to build families in the first place. She puts on a good face, nobody can accuse her of being unprofessional. She just doesn't care anymore. That said, she'll still spend half the night looking for a runaway 13-year-old. She's a woman that wants to believe there's good in the world. She just hasn't seen it in a long time. What Sharon needs is a holiday, maybe with a nice man. She needs someone to whisk her off her feet and take her on an adventure. What she doesn't need is to find herself on that trip of a lifetime with no idea where she is, no way home, and no bright eyes to see the joy of the universe through. So again, these are the bits of her character that are going to be relevant for the series, relevant for the story we're telling. This isn't a comprehensive guide that I would use as a writer. This, for me at the minute, is going to go into a pitch Bible, which is what we're going to be making. Next character through the gate is the series villain, the final bad guy, as it were. This is a character called Cura Grisea, and I've written the Latin translation underneath just so I remember where the name came from, because it's quite a stupid sci-fi name. Now, nobody knows what Cura Grisea looks like, or if they're even real, but it's said that in times of devastating galactic war, Cura Grisea and her legions will bring peace to both parties by wiping them from existence. They target only the military elite, giving the foot soldiers the opportunity to return home and enjoy the peace that they have brought. Though each is taken at their word, legend says that those with impure hearts meet grisly ends before they can break the peace, striking at the very moment before they enact their revenge. Though nobody knows anything about where Cura Grisea comes from, their intent is clear from their followers' war cry, peace in all time. It's something they hold above all else. They will end all wars in all times, moving from one time to another, ceasing conflict of all scales regardless of the impact on the timeline. Normally, there's one that armies rely on to stop such renegade terrorism, and that's who Cura has set their eyes on next. As you can see, spelling sci-fi names. It's tough. We make do. Okay, so we've had a different version of the Doctor, we've had our companion, and we've had our villain. Next, because it's Doctor Who, we need to have, I think, a familiar face. This is Nardole. Oh, Nardole. Whatever happened to the Doctor's cybernetic punching bag? Nothing good, that's for sure. But he never lost his zeal for life. Whenever it wavered, an army of Cybermen would arrive to remind him life only moves in one direction, forward. Or in his case, upwards. For 1,000 years, Nardole has been climbing through the floors of an enormous space station, guiding refugees up and away from the Cyberman army that threatens to upgrade them, and the black hole that will eventually claim their lives. That's okay though. Nardole keeps their spirits up and tells them tales of a hero that once passed through, giving hope and holding the monsters at bay. As a guide, Nardole can be summarised in 2 words: silly and hopeful. So long as his refugees have that, they'll keep climbing north and they'll stay alive. So remember, these bios, they should be thematically linked. We've got an idea of who he is as a character, but we also have an idea of his place in the story. His place in this story is different to the place he had in Series 10, where he first appeared. We're going to see a slightly different side to Nardole this series, and this is a bio that alludes to who he was and alludes to who he's going to be. He's silly and he's hopeful. Any story then is going to come into conflict with one or both of those things. And then because this is a Bible and we're going to keep it to our core characters, so there are other legacy characters that will feature in this series. Nardole for me was the most important one. The others are all Earth-based, so I just wanted to reassure anyone who reads the Bible that we will be going to space in this series. This isn't going to be all new, all Earth. That said, our last character is someone called Mrs. Berrycloth. Now, Mrs. Edwina Berrycloth is not a blind woman, nor is she a stupid woman. And she certainly isn't a trusting woman. Her life has been too long and too full of pain for her to go around smiling and taking everyone at their word. At her time of life, she just wants to sit in her allotment, potting tomato plants, talking to nobody, and listening to the birds. Yes, it's irritating she has to get 3 buses to see her GP, but she's not going to see that boy who's taken over the local practice. Edwina's mind may be suspicious, but she's no bigot, and she's endlessly curious. She sees things others don't. She rationalises as a scientist would. Her suspicion is born from curious ignorance, and her sharp tongue comes only to those who elude her analysis. It's her sharp tongue and quick wit that make her popular with the children of the town. In return, they speak their mind to her, which she appreciates. So, when she sees a light in the sky, or something seems odd about the museum tour guide, she considers all possible reasons, including, if logic demands, the extraterrestrial. Now, this is a character that is curious but has lost her, as it says, her zeal for life. So this is a character that the Doctor's going to have a lot of fun with, and the audience is going to have a lot of fun with, because I think there's something that's just so brilliant about old women characters. I just love how much they bite. So there we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5 characters which we are going to see either throughout or at key points of this story we're going to be telling. Now, I'm not going to go into the villains of each episode here. We're focusing on a few recurring characters that serve the overall story. Nardol's the only real exception, but as I say, I only wanted him in there to allude to where the series is going to go thematically. So once you've written your own, feel free to go through, add a few pictures, add a few bits and pieces just to add a flavour of where you're going to go when it comes to presenting this thing. Because at the minute, it's all textual. At some point, we are going to be going in and we're going to be making it look beautiful. Or we're going to be making it look like Battlestar Galactica. It's entirely up to you. It's whatever your story needs. But what I would say is put together something so that when the time comes, you've got something to work with. And now we come to the end of the lesson. So by now you should be looking at the beginnings of a very strong story Bible, and it should hopefully be becoming clear just what this thing is going to look like and what it's going to do for you. In the next episode, we're moving on to the best parts of storytelling, telling stories. And as ever, any Bibles I've referenced can be downloaded directly from my website at the link below, where you can also find a whole library of storytelling advice, opinions, and general whimsy. If you found this lesson helpful, let me know, and please, please, please like and subscribe, as I will love you forever and ever. If you are looking for feedback on your own script, be that screen or theatre, I do provide a feedback service on Fiverr, which you guessed it, you can get at the link below or direct from my website. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you for some storytelling advice in the next video. Also, one final note, completely off mic. Yes, I know my bed is a state, but I forgot to make it before I hit record. I was too worried about the light, so I'm sorry, but it's messy. Get over it.